Hi, I'm Chris Williams. I just want to talk to you real quickly about the Answer Fund and what that is. And this was a great prelude, and you've heard so much about Compass and what it means to the organization, what it means to the patients going forward. And you heard a lot of terms also about genes and pathways and different things like that. And what I really, in the simplest terms, if you're out there and you don't know those terms are a little bit confusing, what I really think of the Compass database is it's just a database full of answers. It's a rich resource of answers that are going to help us for a long time coming as the data matures. And as we talk about a lot in our meetings, we have all these answers, but those answers don't mean anything unless you ask the right questions. You have to ask a specific question that's answerable, that's going to be beneficial. So all the answers in the world don't help you unless you have the right question. So the Answer Fund is based around that, where we want to ask the right question to extract these answers out of our Compass database in a timely way that can help patients. So what we did is, and Paul alluded to this earlier, is we met with a lot of our key opinion leaders and scientists and internally, and we started to try to come up with some of these questions. And we had a list of them, and we went out and talked and to these people, and we said, of these questions that we're thinking of, which are the, which do you think are the most solvable, not the easiest, but the most powerful, the most beneficial? And far and away, every person we talked to, knowing the Compass database, the high-risk myeloma, novel targets in high risk was at the top of the list. So as you can see here on the slide, that is one of the first things that we're going to do with the Answer Fund is try to look at novel high-risk targets in myeloma. The other questions that we had were all good questions, and they all had some support from some and not from others for various reasons we don't have to get into. But what we really thought is, instead of us thinking about what are the next best questions, let's go out to the myeloma community and say, what do you people think are the best questions if you're a patient, if you're a community doctor that is not in a big academic center that has these resources all the time? And also, some of our research partners and our technology partners, what do you think are the major questions that you would want to have answered? And the way we're going to do that is through a crowdsourcing effort. So we're going to, early next week, you'll see, I'll talk about this and actually give you a little bit of a demo in a minute. We're going to ask those questions or ask for those questions from these specific groups in the community. So if you're familiar with Kickstarter or GoFundMe, those are crowdfunding sources, but this is a crowdsourcing for questions in the same manner. So in the big picture, what does the Answer Fund look like? This is the higher level model, but basically, if you can see there, the cloud to the left, is one of these a pointer or not? No?
Yeah, green arrow.
Green.
Oh, no, there's no pointer.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, you can see the pink cloud there of this is our crowdsourcing effort, and then internal questions from the foundation. We filter those through different filters to come up with these questions that we believe, from the crowd and from the organization that are answerable. We use the Compass database to answer those, and as was alluded to earlier, Compass data itself is very strong, but combined with other databases, that the computing power, the statistical power is even greater. So we're asking, in our request for proposals, we're asking researchers to use Compass, but you don't have to use Compass as the sole database. We actually encourage you to go out, use other data sources to make our statistical power a little bit stronger. Once that happens, we're going to get all these proposals that come in from these different researchers. We're going to fund a few of these proposals, and we're going to they'll actually start the translational research to find these answers about high risk, about whatever else the questions that we want to have answered. The answers that come from those research projects will be driven to the clinic, where through our clinical trials network, we can get new molecules, see how these work with patients, and eventually get approved drugs and or care pathways for our patients. So that's an aggressive model, and that's how things work, but we're very confident that with the power of the Compass database and others that we can drive to this goal. So what have we done actually? I'm the business guy, so you're going to get some timelines here. In early July, we released a request for proposal, or an RFP, for high-risk new targets in high-risk multiple myeloma. Within a 2-week period of the the release of this, we asked for letters of intent, so researcher groups out there that would participate in this study. And we have 18, as of today, and the window's closed, we have 18 letters of intent from 6 different countries. So we were thrilled, actually, with that response. We're in the process now of waiting for the full proposals to come in. Those are due on October 2nd. We will send those proposals out then to an expert panel of reviewers who will narrow the list down to 2 or 3 possible projects that will be funded. The funding model for that is $500,000 a year for 2 years. So each of these proposals that we fund will be a $1 million research initiative. Once that those initiatives get complete, validate new targets, then we go into that cycle of driving those molecules through drug trials to the clinic and then to benefiting the patient. The second piece of that is what I alluded to, is the crowdsourcing effort. In the crowdsourcing effort, we're going to launch actually early next week. And early next week, you'll have there'll be, through different social media, emails, there'll be a link to a place where you can go and actually ask your questions, and it'll come to us. Once those questions are aggregated, we'll look and we'll kind of get a priority there and see which ones can actually be answered. And again, we'll take those through a expert panel review. And once we've narrowed down the questions to maybe 1 or 2, again, we'll put out a new request for proposal, new researchers that can come and do a research study to answer those questions, and then eventually drive them to the clinic and to benefit the patients. So what does this crowdsourcing portal look like? So you'll be directed, when you come to the portal, to this crowdsourcing page. So right now it's called the MMR Answer Fund. As you see, there's some text here that tells you what we're doing. And at the bottom, sorry about this, some reason the Microsoft browser makes this one small, but you'll see here there's different areas where you can enter the portal through patients and caregivers, if you're a doctor or a healthcare professional, or if you're a technical partner or a researcher. So if you're a patient and want to ask a question, you would click here. Takes you to the patient question page, gives you a little bit of detail here about what we were asking of you. If you actually want more details, there's a spot here you can look. And right, and then actually, we know it's very valuable to know where your question is. When you ask a question, you don't want to just go into vapor and you never get any feedback. So if you can keep coming and checking back if you want to see where your idea is, it goes through a funnel eventually to possibly be funded. You can also, if you submit a question, that would be up here, submit an idea. You can actually comment. You can just fill in here and submit your question. And if you want to look at all the ideas or all the questions, you click here. And I just put this one in this morning. It's kind of just my most important question. And you can actually upvote it if you like it. And there's a leaderboard there to see, and if other people like that. And you can comment on it and actually talk to other people there. And I just put a comment there. It said, "This is a great question." So anyway. It's very, very intuitive. It's easy to go through, but it's, I don't want to, I want to reemphasize the fact that it's so important that we hear from you, that we hear from other people in the community about what we can do for you, what questions we can answer with the resources we have, using the Compass database and other resources we have. So look for this early next week in various markets or various ways. All right.